How's it going, everyone? So this is going to be your class 3 session 2. So what this session is going to focus on is going to be adding interactive elements again, but this time looking at adding audio and video inside your PDFs and then exporting them as an interactive PDF that can then play audio and play video. So this is what I have over here in front of me. In the Photoshop image editing extra class that I've uploaded, I showed you how I just did some basic brief editing to this image, just trying to clean it up as much as possible. As you can see in that video, there was quite a bit of noise. I also did some color corrections. I added in some shadows and some highlights, but other than that, nothing too hectic, nothing too serious. Also a bit of masking going on as well. From there, I just brought the image into a document that is 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels, so which is HD screen resolution. Brought the image in. I also, of course, cropped it inside Photoshop so that it would fit quite well. Brought the image in. I brought in the logo for the artist. This is for John Bellion. I created these basic little graphics inside of InDesign, as well as the sort of track samples, little playlist, and a space for me to put the video here at the bottom. So this is just quite a little basic design, nothing too intense, nothing too hectic. Just want to show you what everything sort of looks like and how the layers are working. So first of all, I have the buttons. So the buttons so far, just these over here at the bottom. So these are my buttons. There's going to be another button that we're going to make over here for the video. I have the masking portions. So as you can see, when I brought in the image, it obviously looked like this, and I wanted parts of his body to be covering parts of these graphics, so it looks like they're flowing in behind him. So I just created some mask layers where I just placed the image. So I went in with the pen tool, I drew a shape to cover what I didn't want of the graphic, and then I just copy and pasted this background image again into that specific area, creating a masking effect. As you can see, I also have the graphics layer that has all the graphics, which is the logo of the graphics over here, as well as the little track samples title, and then obviously the background. So if I take away the background, you can clearly see, like, this is how I made my mask. They're very rough, but they get the job done. They are just well sort of masked and created where they needed to sort of cut in between the graphics. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be adding in some audio and video. So all I've done is over here for the buttons, I have just created a ellipse, so a circle, created an ellipse quite uniformly, and then I also created a triangle. So by creating a triangle, I just went to the polygon tool. I left click somewhere on the page, and you just select the number of sides that you want. You say OK, and you can create a triangle. Once that was done, I then grouped them together. So if I double click in here, you can see I can access them individually, but they are grouped together. And once they were grouped, then I just made them buttons. I created buttons from them, and the way that I did that is exactly the same way as in the calendar. So I just went to my workspace on top here, and I'm changing it from essentials into interactive PDF. So the minute I go to interactive PDF, I then again have my buttons and forms. A new tab that wasn't in the calendar video or calendar session is the media tab. And to get the media tab, you just go to Windows, go down to interactive, and you should be able to click media. And it's obviously a floating panel. You can just drag it into your workspace. So then from here, all I did is I selected my group, I went down to the buttons, and I then created them into buttons. So they're not buttons yet because I obviously undid everything, so I can show you exactly how I'm going to do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete these two buttons over here, because I want to play with the rollover states, and I would rather just create them in one button and duplicate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to type, select button. I can see there's a little icon there that has a hand pushing some sort of rectangular shape, so that means that this is now a button. I'm going to rename it to play Woodstock, which is the name of the song, Woodstock. I'm going to make the event on click. I'm not going to play with the action just yet because we haven't imported our media, but I just want to play around with the rollover states. So the normal rollover state, I want it to be exactly like this. The rollover state for when you hover over the actual element itself, what I want to do over here is I just want to select the ellipse. I'm going to go to color and I'm going to apply a color to it. This is the same color that I've used along the borders and along this text over here. I've just made it into a swatch. I'm not sure if I like it being sort of a full color like that, or perhaps maybe just changing the color of the stroke would be more beneficial. So let me try that out. If I go to the stroke, go to the stroke, and let's see if I can change the swatch of the stroke. There we go. So now with it selected, going back to my buttons, my normal state being the white, my rollover state being the pinkish red color, and the click state, I'm going to attempt to shrink the button slightly and bring it back into the center. So right now, the way that everything is structured, I'm just going to change to a pink color. Once again, I'm going to go to, I'm going to double click over here. No, not over here. I'm going to go to the stroke and swatch and same pink color. So all I've done now is I have a normal state where the button has a white stroke, a rollover state where it has a pink stroke, and a click state that is the same pink stroke that is slightly shrunken, so it creates the feel that the button is being pressed once it's being clicked. So these are my three states, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this button. So I'm just going to hold down Alt, click and drag, and I'm going to duplicate the button, and again hold down Alt, click and drag, duplicating the button. So our first button is called Play Woodstock because that's the title of the song. Our second button, I'm going to change the name from Play Woodstock to Play Run Wild. Also on click, that is all fine. Still a button, Run Wild. And our last one is going to be changed from Woodstock to Crop Circles. From Crop Circles. So now we have our three buttons. They are all named appropriately according to whichever song they are going to play. They all have rollover states and click states. Okay, so now once that is sorted, I'm going to go to my media tab, which we can find again by the window, going down to interactive and then selecting media, and it will pop up as a floating panel. You can just attach it. So if you go down to your media, you can see that there's absolutely no media going on here whatsoever. So what I want to do is over here at the bottom right hand side of the media window, there's an option to place a video or a audio file. So when you place a audio file or a video file, you want to have that file downloaded onto your computer, saved in the same space which you are going to be saving your actual files. So what I've done is I've gone onto YouTube, I found these three songs, I downloaded them using a YouTube to MP3 converter. With regards to the video, I'm not sure if you know how to download videos from YouTube, but just as a sort of a refresh. So for example, I want to download this music video. All I do is I go on top of here to the URL, and before the letter Y in the word YouTube, I'm just going to type in SS and press enter, and it will take you to savefrom.net, and then you can see over here it gives you the option to download the video. Please make sure that you're downloading an MP4 file. So for this video, the only MP4 file, so if you click the drop down, The only MP4 file that has audio is the 360p version of it, which is just the quality of the video. All the rest of them do not have audio. So for the purpose of this, I want audio. Even though it's a lower quality, it's okay. The video is going to be quite small anyways. Then I would just select the MP4 version. It'll then bring you to this tab, and you can right click and say save video as. If you know any other ways to download videos, please by all means download it that way. Don't stress or worry about any sort of copyright or that type of a thing, because this is just a varsity project. This is not something that's going to be sort of released to the world. You're not claiming it. You're not claiming any sort of royalties or anything along those lines. This is purely just for a project for practicing adding video and adding audio into an InDesign document. So we're going to go down to our place audio files, and I want to place the first song, which is Woodstock. I'm going to say open, and then you can see there is a little speaker that's attached to my mouse cursor now. So all I'm going to be doing with that speaker is I'm just going to click right next to the word Woodstock, and I just want to shrink this down a little bit. So this is the actual audio file. This is not visible in your final document, but it needs to be on your page in order to link it to a button to play the song. So for example, if I want to play the song, then you should be able to hear it. So that's the song. It is now inside my media player, and I have a couple of options. So first of all, with regards to the poster, that does not apply to audio files. And you can see over here that there are a couple of options that the media player gives you with the song. You can either play the song on page load, you can stop the song on page turn, or you can loop the song. For now, we are not going to use any of them because we have a button to apply those functions to. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another audio file, and this one is going to be Run Wild, which is our second song. Again, it's attached to my mouse cursor. I'm just going to select it there, and I'm going to shrink this file slightly. And then the last one that we want is Crop Circles, and I'm going to open that and again place it and just shrink it slightly, maybe even move it so everything's in line. Okay, now we have our three audio files. All three of them can play. I'm going to move over to my buttons again, and this is the Play Woodstock button. So it's a button, it's titled Play Woodstock, the event. So what it will do, what you need to do in order for the button to work, is to click it, and I'm going to assign an action to it, and this action is going to be sound. And once I click sound, you can see that I have my three songs which I just imported or placed inside of InDesign available here. So the right one is selected, so this is, I want my button, once it's clicked, to play John Billy and Woodstock. And the options over here is you can have it play, or you can have it stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on play, and then I'll have to make a stop button that will appear behind our play button. So right now that's fine, and I'm just going to close that. Do the exact same thing here. I'm going to go to my buttons and options. This is Play Run Wild. The actions, I'm going to go to sound. I want to change the song. This is Run Wild, and the option is play. That is perfectly fine. And our last button is to play Crop Circles. So I'm going to once again click sound, go to the song that I wanted to play, and that is Crop Circles, and we're going to leave it just like that. So now we have our three buttons. You can click them and they should play the audio file, but we have nothing to stop the audio file from playing. So what I actually want to do is I want to duplicate my button over here. I'm going to go into the buttons and forms, and you can see that there are no actions applied once I duplicate the button. So all I want to do now is I want to change the word play to stop, so I know this is going to be a stop button. And then I'm going to go into my normal state. Actually, before I do that, what I actually want to do is just remove its button functionality, if that is possible. Doesn't look like it once it's a button. It's clearly going to stay a button, but that's fine, it's no problem. All I want to do is I just want to remove this. Might even be better. I'm just trying to think, thinking out of my head, maybe it would be better if I actually ungrouped it, and that could potentially take away its button functionality. So I'm just going to go back to the Essentials tab. I'm going to select my word, my button, and I want to try and see if I can ungroup it somehow. No, I can't. But what I can do is I can see that the stroke is 2 points. So I'm just going to create another ellipse. I'm just going to increase the points to 2, so it's relatively the same. I want to just make sure that I have the same size. Yes, that is the same size. And then I want to get a square, create a square, same thing, 2 pixels. The edges I don't want to round, I want to stay as a square, leave it as a square, and I want to bring it into my circle. So right now we have a play button and we have a stop button. So I'm going to see if I can get this nicely in the center. That looks relatively alright. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them, and this is going to be my stop button. I'm going to move back into the interactive PDF, and you can still see that this is our button over here, and this now we are going to create a button. So I want to make that into a button. The button is going to be called stop for now, so when I duplicate it I can just add the additional words. And I want to just focus on the rollover states. So the rollover, I want to go inside. I want to select both of my strokes. Go to stroke and swatches, and we're going to apply the same color. And then moving into our buttons, then what I'm going to do is the exact same. I want to go into my group, select both of my strokes, go to my swatches tab and give it the correct color. I also just want to shrink it slightly and then place it back into the middle. Should be around about here, we will see. So not really. So it looks like we need to go more to the right hand side. So I'm just going to go in and move more towards the right hand side. Need to bring both of them with me more towards the right hand side. No, still not. I'm just going to move my button out of these guidelines over here and just help me out. There we go. Now it's in the middle. So I can see we have our normal state, our rollover, and when you click it, it will shrink slightly, which is perfect. That is exactly what we want. Okay. So now this first button, I'm just going to duplicate it. Need the entire button. Duplicate it down to the Run Wild song, and I'm going to duplicate it once more down to the Crop Circle song. Okay, now we can rename them properly. So we're going into our buttons, and I'm going to rename this to Stop Woodstock. It will function on click. Yes, that is fine. Our next button is going to be titled Stop Run Wild. Perfect. And our last button is going to be called Stop Crop Circles. Okay, so now we have our 3 buttons: Stop Woodstock, Stop Run Wild, and Stop Crop Circles. So what I'm going to try and do now, so we have our play button over here for Play Woodstock, and when you click it, it is going to play the song Woodstock. What I'm also going to do is add a second function to it, which is going to be to show and hide buttons. So once I click the play button, I want it to disappear, and I want the stop button to replace it in the exact same position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure everything else is ignored, and I'm going to look for the stop Woodstock, and I wanted to make the stop Woodstock visible, and I wanted to make the play Woodstock invisible. So when I click the play Woodstock button, I wanted to make itself invisible, and I wanted to make the stop Woodstock visible. So that is an additional function that I'm going to add, an additional action. And then if I go over to the stop Woodstock button, I'm going to add an action. First of all, it must play sound. So it is Jon Bellion Woodstock. That is exactly the song, and I wanted to stop the song. In addition, I also wanted to show and hide buttons. So make sure that everything else is ignored. I needed to show the play Woodstock button again, and I needed to make itself invisible. So now that we have that set up, what I'm going to do is I want to click the play button over here, arrange it and bring it to the front, and then move the stop Woodstock button directly behind it. And I just want to save, and then I want to test out and see if this works or not. Let everything save. So to test it out again, we're going to just go to our preview over here in the EPUB, and I already made a mistake. So I'm on the stop Woodstock button. I'm going to say hidden until triggered, so that it doesn't overlap. So let's see if I click. The song is playing, and it's now a stop button. If I click the stop button, then it goes back to the play button. So that's exactly the effect that I want to create. So I'm on the right track. So once again, over here by the Run Wild, all I want to do is, it is already set to play the Run Wild song. I'm going to add an additional action to it, which is to show and hide buttons. I wanted to hide the play Run Wild button, so hide itself, and I wanted to make the stop Run Wild button visible. And in addition to that, I'm going to the stop Run Wild button. Firstly, must get an action of sound, and the sound is going to be Jon Bellion Run Wild, and the action is to stop it. I'm going to add an additional action, which is to show and hide buttons. It needs to show the play Run Wild, and it needs to make itself invisible. And of course, like the same error that we had over here, if I do not check the hidden until triggered option, then this is the icon I'm going to see, kind of a mashup of both sort of the play and stop buttons. But if I select the hidden until triggered, then I have more control, and it creates a much better effect. So I just want to make sure that the play button is in front, and I'm going to set the stop button behind it, and that should be perfectly fine. And I just want to do the last one. Just want to double check that it is in front, bring to front. So the play crop circles is set to play the Jon Bellion crop circles. I'm going to add an additional function, which is to show and hide buttons. It needs to hide itself, so it needs to hide the play crop circles, and it needs to show the stop crop circles. And then moving into the stop crop circles button, firstly it needs to have an action of sound. You need to select the correct sound for it, and its option, it needs to stop the music and not play it. We're adding an additional action, and that additional action is to make itself invisible, so the stop crop circles will then be invisible and the play crop circles will be visible. And once again, I am checking the hidden until triggered option, and I'm going to place it directly behind our play button. So I just want to save this file again, let it save, and we're going to test it out. Okay, And now let's go to preview in the EPUB. As you can see, I have my basic sort of layout over here. All these buttons have a rollover state, and if I click the play Woodstock button, it plays the song, and I have my stop button there. I can just stop it. I'm going to test the run wild button now. I click it, it plays my song, and the stop button is now visible, and I stop it. And then crop circles, acoustic, I must actually make these invisible and see if I can fix that. And the crop circles, acoustic, the exact same. So that's all working fine. My only issue now is these audio files, and I'm trying to figure out how I can sort them. Let's see if I make them quite minuscule, if it makes a difference or not. So I just want to play again. So it's quite small. It does still work. Stop. Okay. But it is still showing up. So you can make it much more smaller. I'm going to try the same thing over here just to make it as small as possible, and over here as well, just to make it as small as possible. So these are quite small, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to try and hide them. So I have no idea why they are visible. They should actually be invisible, but I'm going to try and hide them on the document. So I'm going to make them as small as can be, and I'm going to try and hide them in this bar. So there's two of them, and here is the third one. So I just want to test this out first before anything, just to make sure everything does still play, because you can still see the little white specks. Perfectly playing, perfectly playing, perfectly playing. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to select I'm going to go to my layers, and over here by the graphics elements, don't want to go to the drop down, I just want to uncheck it. I want to select this graphic of mine. I'm just going to say Control C to copy, and I'm going to go over here to my buttons and Control Shift Alt paste. So now I've pasted another one on top of those audio files. So now going into the buttons, into the preview, they should be gone. So I just hid them underneath this bar. So that's one way of tackling it, and they work quite well. Perfect. Perfect. Stop. There we go. Okay, so that's that part done. I'm just going to save the work again. Please just continuously save your work. You never know if something's going to go wrong. Go into the layers, buttons, there we go. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to bring in some video. And to bring in the video, same thing, we're going to go to our media, going to add media audio files. So this is the video that I want to import, and I'm just going to click over here. It's going to drop the video, and you can treat it the same way like any sort of image. So you have your frame, and then you have your actual video to resize. There we go. Don't know why there was 3 options there, but this is my video, and I just want to move it up over here slightly and just stretch it out a little bit. Again, I'm holding shift so that everything is scaling uniformly. so I don't have any weird stretched videos or weird stretched graphics, and I'm going to stretch that out so it fits the screen. Okay, perfect. So this is my video. It's in its little frame, and you can see over here that there are a couple of options, not too many. So you can play on page load, or you can loop it, except for in a PDF, so you can't loop it inside of a PDF. And for the poster of the video, so this main frame over here, you can upload your own image, or it can be a standard image, which is just that, or you can take a shot from the actual video itself. So I'm just going to scrub through the video and see if I can find a nice sort of shot to just use as my cover image. Maybe this image over here. So once you've scrubbed through, then there's a little refresh icon. You just select that, and this becomes your video cover. So from there, we just need to create some sort of buttons that allow this video to play. So what I can actually do is, I didn't necessarily want to use the same type of buttons. I'm just trying to think quickly. Maybe what could be quite nice. So I just want to make sure that didn't mess up my buttons. No, that's fine. Okay, so I just want to steal this triangle. So I'm just going to scale it again uniformly. And I'm just going to go to the stroke. Actually just want to give it a increasing much. Just want to give it a white as a main color. Just swatches is gonna stick to paper. No, that's the color. So I'm just gonna move back to my essentials tab. It's just a bit more easier to work with the sort of graphical elements. Okay, so I just want to increase the corner size like that. I want to give it a fill of white. Perfectly fine. Maybe just stretch it out a little bit more. Place it in the center. Make it a bit more rounder. So this looks kind of fine. I'm just trying to think how I would tackle having a stop button. What could actually be quite nice if I have to just make a rectangle. Make a rectangle. I just want to give it a full color quickly. Let's make it blue. And then I just want to arrange, send backwards. And I just want to say, I just want to just change the colors of these around. Because my goal, move the stroke. So my goal is then to use the Pathfinder tool to then just do that, and then by the opacity, let me just see what a overlay looks like. Nope, not down for that. Make it normal. I'll just drop the opacity. Can't really see that too much, to be honest with you. So then what I'd rather do is just apply the pink color to it and to the stroke as well. not really feeling that. I think for this instance, I think I'm just going to use my same buttons. It was the idea that I sort of had didn't necessarily work out too well. So I'm just going to use my same buttons and copy them. And I'm just going to come over here and paste them right over here. I'm going to make sure I didn't affect anything going on there. Going to go back to my interactive PDF. I'm going to select my buttons over here and make sure that they still have the correct functions applied to them. And they seem like they are still fine. So all I'm going to do is just, I want to just move them over each other quickly so I can just add some functions to them. So currently I just want to delete the actions, so I have a bit of a fresh start so I don't get anything confused. Still have the correct rollover states and all that kind of stuff. So this is just going to be play video, and this is going to be stop video. Okay, and then the action for the play video, I'm going to add an action. I'm going to go to the video option, and it's going to select the only video I have, which is all-time low, and its option is to play the video. That's it. Again, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the audio. So the play video button must be invisible and the stop video button must be visible, and then go into the stop video button. The action is going to be video. That is the correct video. I'm going to just select stop and go to the actions, and by actions it's going to be to show and hide buttons, and it needs to make itself invisible and make the play button visible. Again, I want to make sure that it is hidden until triggered, and that seems as though it is absolutely fine. I want to make sure that the play button is in front. Yes, it is. And then I'm going to drag the stop button behind it, and I just want to select both of them and see if I can find a nice space to place them. I'm almost thinking somewhere here on top that is in line with the actual video itself. That doesn't seem to be the worst spot. Okay, so I just want to save. Before that, I just want to add this track samples. I'm going to go to my layers. Actually, I'm going to just move back to the essentials tab. So I keep on jumping between both of them because I keep on making adjustments to the actual work and design. So I just want this track samples. I just want to duplicate it, bring it over here, extend this out. All-time low. Video. All-time low video. Just so we know exactly what this play button does. And then I just want to left align, shrink this a bit, and bring it out, get some spacing there. There we go. And if I had to select all of it and sort of center align it, how would that look? Let's see. No, it goes over his arm. No. Give it some more breathing room up top. Okay, and there we go. So going back to interactive PDF mode, close my tab over here, just have a better look at how this sort of turned out. And I'm just going to go to my buttons, going to hit the preview over here. See, now why does this have a play button there? That's very strange. Let me double check that. Go to the video, here to the media, should be options. Doesn't seem like it. Current frame. No. Very weird. There should usually be an option for you to decide what sort of play buttons you have over here, but I haven't checked any sort of okay, well, for now, with regards to actually importing the video and audio, I feel like it's most important to just check that everything works. So I'm going to play the video. And stop the video. So that's pretty nice. I don't know why this is here at the bottom. I can't even click it or do anything with it. That's very weird. And the audio works fine. Still good. And awesome, sorted. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to just save again. I'm going to export as an interactive PDF and see if everything's still working. That's saved. Export. Interactive PDF. John Berlin sample. Saving it. Yes, yes, yes. 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 No security. Let's have a look. Let's see. Okay. .3D content has been disabled. Enable this feature if you trust. Okay. So this is a big issue. Please note this is a big issue. I need to download Flash Player in order to actually make use of the interactive PDF stuff. Flash Player. You need to download and install Flash Player to play audio and video. I knew there was something. I absolutely forgot about this Flash thing. Okay. So what I'll do is during our sessions I'll just explain to you how to download and to install Flash Player, and then show you that everything is sorted out. Okay, but awesome. So that's how you bring in audio and video. You can see in the EPUB previewer inside of InDesign, everything does work. The buttons function. You can still see them moving, but obviously you can't hear nothing now because of the Flash Player. But yeah, I hope this is quite informative. And yeah, peace.